Hello and welcome to another episode of the Hali Hewa podcast with your host Abigail Kima. This podcast seeks to amplify African climate stories, looking at the impacts of the climate change and also spotlighting amazing grassroots stories of resilience that has been built by communities. Today we are joined by two wonderful guests and I will let them introduce themselves. Welcome. Rose.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Rose Resiato, a woman with physical disability, and from Kajiado County, Kajiado Central. I'm the founder of Rural Women Voices CBO, which is a registered community-based organization working with women and girls with disabilities from the indigenous Maasai community.
Thank you so much, Rose. It is lovely to have you on the podcast today.
Pleasure.
And to you, Ann.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ann Kiai from Mwanga Faraja community-based organization, a CBO operating in Kajiado West and Kajiado North.
Amazing. Lovely to have you as well today. So we are here to talk about the Next Level Grant Facility.
Yes.
And for context for our audience, the Next Level Grant Facility was a small grant specifically towards small and registered organizations in different parts of Kenya, the Kenyan counties. And this was implemented through the Voices for Just Climate Action program, which is a program that is coming to an end. It was a 5-year-long program funded by the Dutch government. And it was an advocacy program, basically ensuring that voices of the marginalized, those that are left out of the conversations, are actually platformed. And we get to hear stories of change happening at grassroots level. So the Voices for Just Climate Action was an advocacy program, but there's definitely need to see hardware programs. And that is why NLGF came to life. So before we get into NLGF, I want you to tell us more about Rural Women CBO.
Yes.
You have talked briefly about what you do, where you're working with women and girls with disabilities, but just to allow us to know more about what you do.
Yeah, pleasure. Rural Women Voices CBO, we work with women and girls with disabilities. And this came out of the need of seeing the need in the community, especially to amplify the voices of women and girls with disabilities. You see now from the Maasai community, women, especially women, do not have that opportunity to have a voice. They do not have a voice really. It is a community that is more centered on men. Yeah, so what we did, we came together as women with disabilities. We saw there was a need of supporting these young girls, but it is also out of my own lived experience growing up back at home, because I grew up in the Maasai village, just inside the Maasai community. And there was this gap, especially when it comes to discussing issues about girls, about sexual conversations, menstrual health, and even any other conversation within the community. But I also saw that there's a gap when it comes to women leadership, and there was no way that young girls are being mentored to be leaders. Men are mentored, boys are mentored, but girls are left out. So even after coming together, we also saw there is also a need. Also, it came the matter of climate justice and climate change. And it was a matter that was really concerning, and it touches every member of the group, because we saw that some of the members are teenage or young women with disabilities. They do not have any income. Majority of them wamefika to Form 4, and then maybe they could not continue with college. We found that most of them were also doing beadwork. So we said, okay, why don't we come together and we do also beadwork as a group and see how we are going to generate income to majority of the members in the group. And that is when we also we began the project of beadwork, and that is we saw the call. I think I saw it through a WhatsApp group. There's a WhatsApp group called Sauti ya Kajiado, where karibu all the residents wa Kajiado tuko huko. So someone just shared and I saw it's something I could try, and yeah, we are here now. So we were supported 2 projects, container gardening, smart agriculture, kitchen gardening, and online bead business for women with disabilities. And I can say that it's a success, and it is something that all the members of the group, they're really happy about the project. And yeah, it's our first funding, and it was successful because we just registered the CBO in 2023 around August. Yes.
Amazing. Of course, we will still get deeper into what you shared in terms of the impacts, but
Yes.
to commend you for the good work that you're doing. And I, of course, understanding the context that you've put forward about the women basically not having a voice in your community and really figuring out a way to mentor young girls. So kudos for that important work. And to you, Ann, tell us a bit more about Mwanga wa Faraja CBO.
Mwanga wa Faraja CBO, as the name Mwanga wa Faraja, it's a CBO that was born from wanting to share, from sharing a personal lived experience with GBV. So Mwanga wa Faraja advocates for survivors. We saw there is a gap as a survivor of violence. There is this context that is forgotten, survivors. So we started as an initiative telling our stories, encouraging survivors to tell their stories, to have that hard conversation about gender-based violence. And given that you're in Kajiado, GBV comes in many forms. In Kajiado, FGM, early marriages, there's a lot of defilement. And given that it is urban and rural, there is also the slum aspect. So given that I'm born in Kajiado, West Kiserian, so I get to see the more of the town bit, and there's the rural area bit of it. And speaking of, we saw it in the initiative talking about gender-based violence, so we'll go at all aspects. And it wasn't about just talking about GBV, because in the GBV conversation, we look at perpetrators going to court and stuff, but we forget about prevention. We forget about the other conversation. How can we prevent? How does someone live in the community? How, given that we're in Kajiado, how the girls and women, we forget all about that. And now, as Mwanga, we try to look at all intersectionalities that bring about gender-based violence, which one of it is poverty and climate change. In Kajiado, you talk about, like, girls, when schools are closed, or when there's drought, not even when schools are closed, when there's drought and cattle is gone, the girls are married to replace the cows. And for you to get married, you have to be cut. So I started as advocacy, advocacy and just creating for us to prevent this violence. What can we do? What is to be done in the conversation if it's empowering the girls? And now, because it's prevention, we do a lot of mentorship. We're in schools. And now to engage the boy child, we even do sports for development. We do chess, we do football. Now having the boy child to talk about gender-based, having these conversations. And as I said, given the unique situation of Kajiado, when we're in town, we do sports. When you're in rural, we support shelters, we do like the rescue centers. So as is mentorship and talking and advocacy. And as given that climate change was part of the GBV, so we found ourselves talking about climate change. And my background, I had worked in Kajiado, rural Kajiado, doing a previous project on climate change. I was with women. I saw how they had hit. And also, I remember the drought of 2022. I saw children fainting out of hunger in town, in Kajiado North. So it was just, you see, it's poverty and climate change. They were so much interlinked. So when the opportunity came, for me, I just thought about the girls in Mostro, that in a rescue center with no food, the children in my town, that are forgotten, that are fainting out of hunger. So my approach, my projects are more children-oriented. So what we did for us was more of inclusion of children in climate action at the grassroots level, that is.
Great. Thank you for sharing that with us. And you bring a very interesting perspective of the fact that climate change sort of causes a ripple effect and continues to put the most vulnerable in the society, in this case, women and children, in more dire situations. Because because of drought, like you said, they have then to be married off, and it enables the cycles that we're trying to break away from, which is quite sad. But thank you for shedding light on that. And to you, Rose, I know the NLGF came on board, and on top of you doing the work on mentorship of girls and whatnot, you also incorporated the issue of climate justice. And with the Voices for Just Climate Action program, we focused on mostly arid and semi-arid counties across Kenya. So Kajiado, Marsabit, Kwale, all those counties, Baringo. And I think maybe a member of the audience will ask, how does mentorship of girls and women relate to issues of climate justice? I guess just to try and understand why it was important for you to focus on that, of course, looking at your context in Kajiado.
Okay, thank you. I remember, you see now, my work, I really focus on I really focus on my own lived experience. And I remember one time when I was, I think, in class 8. Yeah. And my mom, you see now my dad passed on. So my mother was the one who was in charge. But you see now, being a woman, and we were only girls in the family, the kids, my mom's children, they were only girls. And I remember one morning when my dad passed on, my uncles, now the brothers to my late dad, they came for all the properties which were there, because in the Maasai culture, it do not belong to the woman. And now my mom doesn't have someone to take care of her. So just let things flow. And I remember one morning, she had to begin again, kujitafutia mbuzi zake, something like that, to own her own property now that the husband is not there. And I remember one morning I was required to go back to school, and I was required to pay some money, I think for tuition, because I remember those times, ukiwa class 8, you have to remain a little bit in school after the others have gone for the sijua alikuwa naita tuition or something like that, just to prepare yourself for exams. And she had to take one he got apeleke market ndio tupate pesa ya mtihani and also fare ya kuja Kajiado Town, because we live in Namanga. And I remember that morning, I don't know where my uncle came from. He was coming into the boma. And when she saw her and she asked, and again today, you are selling this goat. Why? And my mom told her, okay, you see now I need money to take Rose back to school, and there are some requirements which are needed. So it became an issue again. And I think through those experiences and those examples, or what I have seen happening, even in my own household, in my family with my mom and all my other sisters, women do not own any property within the home, especially when it comes to land, animals, something like that. And then I thought, we have some resources within the community enye wanaume hawawezi kuwa entitled to, and that is beadwork. And even if you have a kitchen garden, it doesn't belong to the man. So it gives women that kind of ownership, to have something of your own, to economically empower this woman to be able to take care of their basic needs. So the relationship between climate change and even our culture, or even how we do things in our culture, that is where it comes in. Because you see now there's drought, there's no food, and the animals which people were looking were the animals which they were used, maybe the family was depending on the animals, they are no longer there because there's no grass, no water. So what do? So empowering these women to own their own lives, to have something for themselves, is what really brought a little hope. And that is what we are doing as Rural Women Voices CBO, to give women what belongs to them, something that the men hata wakifanya aje hawezi nyang'anywa, because there's no way a Masai man can come and claim anything made of beads kusema ni yake, or even a kitchen garden yenye iko nyuma ya nyumba and he is enjoying fresh vegetables every day maybe in the household, hawezi sema hiyo ni yake. So when it comes to climate change, it really affects women, and it is more the effects are even felt more by women and girls with disabilities, because it cuts across mambo ya menstruation, mambo ya chakula, and even maji ya kutumia. So for us, we thought maybe it could be easier if this woman akona shamba yake, mboga zake, and anaweza access mboga anytime they want. Because another challenge for women with disabilities is even the mobility ya kwenda sokoni na kurudi. You see, most of these markets are not even disability accessible. So the thought of, and it is expensive, because for another woman it's easier atoke nyumbani atembee by foot, goes to the market and come back home without using any penny. But for a woman with disability like me, nikitaji kwenda sokoni, lazima nitafute pikipiki. But now I have my own garden. It really cuts the cost. So you can use the money for other things, for basic needs, or even for other needs within the household. So that is how our story is. I don't know if I have answered.
You have
Yes,
really
the
answered
question
well, and
really
it's very profound to, the way you've talked about making sure women own something that can't be
Yes.
taken away from them. And I think
Yes.
that's very important, and that is what empowerment actually should be. I'll stick to you for a bit briefly to still talk about now what the Next Level Grant Facility has done for you. When you look at the period of implementation, and you've talked about the two things, the beadwork and the kitchen gardens,
Yes.
which after you shared your story, I see it from a different perspective completely, because then I see this is actually something that no one can take away from the women. So when NLGF came, how has it enabled you to scale up on what you're already doing? And what are some of the impacts that you can think about for the women that you work with, and how many are they? How many have been impacted? You know, it doesn't have to be the exact numbers, but just in general, what is the impact looking like after NLGF?
Okay, after NLGF, I think it just came in when we were having discussions. We were trying to see what can we do in relation to beadwork, because majority of the young women, members of the group, that is what they do. And when the NLGF funding came through, that is when it enabled us to train these young women on digital skills, on how to use the internet or even social media handles to sell their products. But again, it also enabled us to, it enabled the members kupata capital, because you see nowadays beads, they're really expensive, and not every lady can afford. So we got the capital, which enabled the members wapate pesa ya kununua beads na kutengeneza products. And through that, we were able to sell products, especially for the 10 group members who are within the group. We were able to sell, to generate income, very good income, of which it showed us that instead of waiting for customers to walk into a shop, which one of us has a shop where we put all our products, it's better we also find other customers even outside Kajiado. And that is what we have been doing, whereby when I go for, like earlier this year, this year I went to a conference in South Africa, and one of the things that I did, nilibeba suitcase ya ya vitu za ushanga, and yeah, I really did a good business. And when I came back, every lady was happy because I was distributing money according to what they gave me. How many earrings did Rose have? How many did Angela have, you see, and it was really nice. So for us, it has really pushed us a step higher, and we were also able to acquire a laptop, which right now we are using within the CBO because we didn't have. Kazi yote ilikuwa tunaenda cyber. Even sometimes you need to work on something, you can't do it at home, so you must do it within during the day, maybe kuanzia asubuhi hadi 4 before ukuje nyumbani. So it's been easier for us even to write more proposals, to work on some other things ambazo ni za CBO. So we've saved a lot of money, especially kwenda kwa cyber kufanya vitu, so it's been easier for us. So for the beads business, that is how successful it has been. And now when we come to the kitchen garden, smart gardening, and it's one of the projects and we have seen the successes and everyone is really embracing. It is a project that has touched every household within the members. And what we did, we thought, you see now as a woman, you always think about other women. We introduced 5 caretakers into the project. Parents of children with disabilities, especially those who have CP. You see, it is a challenge for these parents kupata balanced diet, chakula mzuri kwa watoto wao. And you see, most of the time they cannot take solid foods. It's only liquid food or mashed. So we thought, why don't we bring 5 caregivers into the project? We enable them acquire this smart kitchen gardens, whereby they'll be able to access fresh vegetables and nutritious for their children. And that is what we did. We brought in 5 caretakers and we were able to empower them and enable them acquire the kitchen garden set, 2 for each family. And yeah, it's a milestone. Every mother is happy that they are now able to get green leafy vegetables for their children. They no longer have to buy. They get it straight from their kitchen garden.
Amazing.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing.
And maybe also for the women with disabilities, you see now for majority of us, aki story ya kwenda soko, it's really stressful. Kusema tu kweli, even I can't remember when last I went to the Kajiado market on a market day or anything, but it's just the thought of the accessibility around the market and everything.
Yeah.
So it's easier, you just call a boda, kindly go to maybe a certain mama mboga mwenye umezoea, get me ABCD, and then he comes back home. But for us, it's been easier. You just unatoka tu nyuma ya mlango, you get your vegetables and it's done for the day. So it has really also helped us as women with disabilities because of the mobility challenges that we are experiencing in our everyday life.
Yeah. No,
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing, and it's inspiring to hear just how much you've been able to do with very little resources, because of course it was a small grant. Now let me move to Anne. I think you work in very similar contexts. So the issue of how climate justice fits into the work that you're doing, but I'll also ask you the same, how does it fit into the work that you're doing? But also on top of that, you can also share, what you were able to achieve with the Next Level Grant Facility. Yeah.
For us, it was, as I said, Mwanga is more of GBV.
Yeah.
In the context of Kajiado, you cannot talk GBV and ignore climate change, because climate change and GBV go hand in hand. Because listening to Rose, and it's interesting because actually before I went to work full-time into Mwanga, the previous project I was doing was enhancing the voices of women with disability to participate in climate action. So for me, it's a good moment because this is what we are doing. We have worked with her, empowering them to talk about climate change and women with disability. Then knowing that we got to do a same project again on the same. For me, in my experience, I'm also from Kajiado, and given that I'm in the urban side of it, I'd never really experienced the harsh realities of it. until I went to Kajiado to do climate change. I started off as a procurement officer. What we were doing drip irrigation, and we were with women. It was a few years back, and that is when I saw it's something. And it was a challenge because the women will want to participate, they'll want to plant, they want to be empowered, they want to do the kitchen gardens. But given that their entire lives they had never farmed, it was hectic. So I said, one day, if I happen to be in a position where I can do a proposal, I'll think about children. Because I saw it's women and children. But we focus on women, like the whole conversation has moved to women, but we've forgotten children. And I saw it will be much easier if children are empowered, they grow up with skills, and then now the Kajiado will be better because they have grown up knowing, in as much as it's semi-arid, you can actually have food. And so for us, and our aspects, our programs are more mentorship oriented. Given its mentorship, I was working with children. Mwanga just decided, because it's more of prevention, I want to look at the aspect of GBV where we're looking at other perpetrators. We look at how do we prevent and support survivors as well. And the voice that is always ignored is the children. There are a lot of cases on children, but no one gets to hear about them. So when an opportunity came, I thought, why not children? Because given that I interact with children before, we registered in 2023, but before then, when I was working, before registering Mwanga, I was in the NGO world and I was working in Kajiado in different spaces, but I always used to do mentorship. Mentorship was one of the things I used to do as extra, which I said in 2022, I got to, there was a big drought in 2022. And in Kajiado, given that it's semi-arid, everyone focused on the rural Kajiado. And given that I'm in between, I've seen the town bit of it. I went to a primary school. Actually, a teacher called us. Children were fainting from hunger. And when you're doing the relief food, everything used to go to rural Kajiado. We'll focus on cows, we'll focus on everything. And then say Kajiado, because it's urban, they do not have problems. But there's the big issue of slum areas. So children will faint, they'll have no food. And we did not have the tap or anything. There was no means of food in the schools. And I noticed in urban Kajiado, we do not have water shortage in us that much, but we have not yet thought of we can have our food. So when I saw the teacher telling me as we were donating food, giving relief food, we said, are we going to wait for relief food throughout? And still, these children, because they are doing also CBC, innovative gardening, they can have the food and take it back to their parents. So our project was more enhancing innovative gardening and promoting Kilimo clubs. We remember we had for K clubs. So I said Kilimo clubs for them. So what we are doing there in schools, it's gardening in buckets, because as now in towns, we do not have the much space. But everyone, they have a bucket, they have a sack, they have a tire. They have anywhere you can get your greens. And the mindset was, if a child knows how to do, they'll take it to the parent. If a child farms, if a child does something, we do a demo in school, they definitely take it back home. And the whole community, so the ripple effect will be from children. And we told the teachers to set up for us the clubs. How the clubs were, it was the teacher selects for us the children who, for sustainability, that is why we went at clubs. The sustainability of this thing, it will be, when the grants are not there, it will keep running and running and running. And so we did, we first did enhancing innovative gardening and promoting Kilimo clubs. We started with 5 schools. So given that we were in schools previously, it was easy to be able to just get letters to operate in schools. In a school, like there's a school that has like 100 children. And I've seen it's consistent because we started in February. And when the schools were closing, the clubs are still running. So I had the approach of mentors. I got young people who will go to schools, like supervised. They go to schools like once a week. We'll do a school once a week. And And then the learners, the clubs will check themselves. So maybe we'll go we start with what is climate, what do we expect to do? And when we come back the next week, what we told them they are doing, they kept on doing. It went, because when schools were closing, I was looking at it. When I envisioned this thing, I didn't think they will embrace it that fully. That when schools were closing, they are very busy in their gardens. The schools provided land. Like the one that I said that the children were fainting. I said, I do not want children to faint again. So they have greens. And then remember, we were even going to their homes. Because what you have learned, have you taken it at home? And I went with like 10 learners, and everyone has done something. They're actually farming in their own homes, in their own small ways. It's going. And also, as I said, the issue of GBV, we have centers. Before, we used to supporting survivors and young girls in rescue centers. There's a school that I've worked with, and there we got to even get a drip kit. Because I saw, yes, there's the idea of a Kilimo club, but there's this school that is very unique. It's Greenland. It's a school for teenage mothers. So they get to go to school with their children. It's sponsored and everything. I saw the Kilimo club there, but I saw a challenge. These are teenage moms. They're in schools. They want to. Them doing the innovative garden, like the ones in primary schools we do, this will be a little bit tough for them. Yes, they want to, but given they're in a boarding school setup and there's the way you can look at it, we asked for more funding and we were given. We set up a drip irrigation system. So I have a drip irrigation kit in a school with teenage mothers. And now the kit is feeding children because the school has a population of like 300 girls and like 100 have children in the schools. The other 100. So we are feeding 300 mothers and there are 100 babies. They are having greens. And the school, and now we have fruit trees. It has become green. We always say the school is Greenland, and you have made it greener. There's food. Its nutrition is for both the teenage moms. So we look at it, we're able to tackle development, GBV, and climate change. We have inclusion of the boys because I find there's schools in urban that we have more boys. This is all now we have called the boys. All the boys instead of boys, like we were talking, instead of you just doing during the holidays, you have an activity to be doing because you set up the modes for you. There's also another school that we support where we found that the school had a farm, but the challenge was elephants. Yes, you'll have a demo farm, but there are elephants. Actually, a lot of elephants in Kajiado. So before I was told, yes, we have a farm, we want to, but elephants. What is away elephants? Beekeeping. So we have been able even to introduce beekeeping through this funding. And now when it's another project. And this beekeeping, this we've done, it's in a school that is a rescue center. So this one, we did it not long ago. We're looking at with the beekeeping, with the honey and the products from the beekeeping.
Yeah.
It will also support girls who are under a shelter because those are girls who have run away from home, from FGM. And now we call them the brave of Naningoi. They're young girls below. Girls. I have girls who are 11, 12 with children, and they are still being married off. So that is their safe shelter. So I see with the Kilimo Club, with the funding, I've been able to support my previous work because I work with girls. Now, like I say, I have girls in Naningoi. Like that is what is happening. I have girls in Naningoi. They have the beating. They have children. Where do I take them? I take them to the school that houses teenage mothers, and the school that houses teenage mothers has greens. And also where I also do my normal mentorship, my boys have the Kilimo clubs. So also as an organization, it has given us a lot of visibility because now Mwanga is being associated with Kilimo clubs. I was even telling someone I'll patent the name Kilimo clubs because Kilimo club is ours. I have a friend with social media and just saying what you're doing. So we have schools that are saying, what are you introducing? Kilimo Club. What is Kilimo Club is actually a name that we coined for this project. Other schools have for K and other names.
Yeah.
They say moving forward, Kilimo Clubs, I don't see Kilimo Clubs dying because we have other schools replicating the same concept. And given that it's not capital intensive, it's just a mentor going, telling them, this is what we do, this is what we do, this is how you can farm. And that's it. You just show up once a week.
And that's
And also the support, it was well received because I'm working closely with the sub-county director of education, Kajiado, the environment as well from the sub-county level. So they keep saying, okay, this is, if like I was looking at, it's for us, it has given us a lot of visibility and opportunities. In as much as we haven't got another funding, but it has propelled us. When we ask who does climate change, it's because they say the group that does Kilimo clubs. Group that does Kilimo clubs, they have schools, they have learners. We have schools that have 100, which they have embraced. We have like over 300, more than 300 learners in Kilimo clubs. And of course, now we keep on, when we do our mentorship, we have that component. Kilimo club now is part of our activities. Even after the funding, the concept will keep on going. And that one is not ending anytime soon. Yeah.
And that's really important because it touches on the aspect of sustainability. And of course, we can speak for hours and hours, but I have really enjoyed listening to your personal stories, and it's very evident that whatever you're doing is coming from either a lived experience or you're inspired to do something because you felt the need to do it because you've seen it or you've personally experienced it. And as we wrap up, Rose, so what next for Rural Women CBO, briefly?
Okay. For Rural Women Voices CBO, we'll continue. We'll continue with our projects now that you boosted us and you gave us an opportunity to begin. And I believe that it's just the beginning of good things coming, especially for 2026. So we are looking forward to applying for more grants. You see also the CBO is also part of the Kenya Network of Women and Girls with Disabilities, which is a loose coalition of women-led CBOs and organizations of women with disabilities in Kenya from the different counties, Mombasa, Machakos, Kajiado now for Rural Women Voices, Kisumu, Nairobi. Yeah, we have different groups from the 47 different counties in Kenya. So through the network, we came together so that we can pull resources together, which will enable members to work in their respective counties. So that is what we are doing. And for 2026, yeah, there are grants we secured through the network. So we'll continue working, especially on climate justice and climate smart skills for women with disabilities. So for Rural Women Voices, kazi inaendelea.
Amazing. Kazi inaendelea.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And for you, Mwango, what should we see out of 2026 and beyond?
2026, given that we have clubs, we are looking forward to schools opening. These are clubs that are there. We'll keep on doing this and promoting more clubs. And with the visibility that has come with it, we have a name because the challenge was, as a small organization, as a startup, getting the first funding. And after the first funding, we're actually very confident that we can only move forward and better. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much. It was lovely having both of you on the podcast. Of course, we wish it could be longer, but this is just the beginning. And I wish you well as you move forward. I am glad that VCA and NLGF gave you a push. It has given you proof of concept. And to the viewers and the audiences, if at any given point in time you would love to support their work, we will be sure to share their information on the description bar. And feel free to reach out to them and support the good work that they're doing. Until next time, bye.